What the fuck? That was smirt. Oh, there's smirt. All right, bros. We're back with New Book Arrivals, number 278. Nothing too exciting there. An autobiography of Anthony Trollope, which I mentioned before, and the badger torn spine, which is why I didn't buy it the first two times I saw it, but figured why not get it since I have now a dozen books on Trollope, by Trollope, for Trollope, within the Trollope world. Dolphin Books. Preface. For an aisle. Cousin Harry. Hello, bruv. What do you got? The strategy of Satan. How to detect and defeat him by Warren W. Wiersbe. This book is a manual of arms for the Christian soldier. It is not a devotional reader for the believer who has gone AWOL. It is a deadly serious guidebook for dedicated Christians who are on the battlefield and want to know how to win. Warren W. Wiersbe discusses basic biblical instruction on defeating the strategies of the devil. What do you got, bruv? Centering his material on Satan's attacks as a deceiver, destroyer, ruler, and accuser. Wiersbe emphasizes conquering the enemy by obeying God's truth. Chapters on defeating the devil in the church and in the home are included. What do you got, Vicky? What do you guys got? Put a 2 in the chat if you believe in Satan. How sweet are your words to my taste. Yes, sweeter than honey to my mouth. Psalm 119. I rise before dawn and cry for help. I wait for your words. My eyes anticipate the night watches, that I may meditate on your word. Hello, Israel, who loves themselves some Israel. Israel and the ancient world, the history of the Israelites from the time of Abraham to the birth of Christ. This is an illuminating study of Jewish history from the time of Abraham to the birth of Christ. Written by one of the Catholic world's most learned and brilliant historians, Israel in the ancient world places the events of the Old Testament narrative in relationship to the history of other civilizations and empires which surrounded Israel and influenced her destiny. You can see lots of interested parties here for this, whatever this is. Anthony Trollope, cousin Henry. He kind of looks like, what's his name? Bateman. Patrick Bateman. Hey, buddy. Henry Jones, an unprepossessing London insurance clerk, knows that his uncle, a moderately wealthy Welsh squire, has disinherited him. The old man's will, made out at the last minute in favor of Henry's charming cousin Isabel Broderick, lies neatly folded in a well thumbed volume of sermons in his bookroom. Henry saw him put it there before he died. Unfortunately, nobody else knows where the will is, and Henry stands to lose everything by making the knowledge public. Sounds exciting. Life in Medieval Times by Marjorie Rowling. I wonder if she's related to J.K. An age of chivalry, color, and faith from which the modern world still draws inspiration. Or centuries of violence, squalor, and superstition best forgotten, Marjorie Rowling refreshingly avoids any such extreme judgment so often passed on the Middle Ages. Instead, she looks closely at some of the people who lived and worked in that fascinating era of European history. These men and women are drawn from all classes and occupations. Somewhere off the coast of Maine, Bantam New Fiction by Anne Hood. I actually believe I have this book, but in an older copy. And I only bought it because at some point I'm going to research Laura Mundo, the UFOologist, more, but I haven't done it. Anyway, Laura Mundo began her life in Maine. So maybe this has some relevance to the places she lived, which was not Belfast, but Belmont. The worst insult in the entire school was to accuse someone of liking Rebecca Morgan, Sally Perkins' head cheerleader since junior high, had just shouted the insult to her old boyfriend. She enjoyed breaking his heart and tormenting him, so after she told him she was going to the freshman frolic with someone else, she added with a toss of her blonde ponytail, "Anyway, I heard you like Rebecca Morgan." All the boys groaned and pretended to throw up. Rebecca froze. She stood against her locker, clutching her books, and prayed she would disappear. "Hi, Becky," Sally said sweetly as she walked by with her friends. "Rebecca Morgan," the boy groaned as he fell to the floor. "Ugh." I like the cover. Stendhal to the Happy Few. And this is letters of Stendhal. And they were voluminous, obviously. But only one of them caught my attention because it mentions a Bear Martin, whoever that may be. And hopefully, if I keep mentioning it enough times, somebody will know who the Bear Martin is in Stendhal's book of letters. And this letter specifically to Sophie Duvalsell from 1830. I mean, real fucking inventive cover. Southern accent from Uncle Remus to Oak Ridge. Stephen W. Brewer Sr. For Stephen from Mama, December 25th, 1953. Southern accent. To Tasker and Lily, who were of the Old South. To Marion, Marnie, and Catherine, who are of the New South. What is the South? Is it true what they say about Dixie? Two sounds have I, and to both I am true. Picture window, Southern exposure. Uncle Remus spake, Queen's English. Part 2. What is the South doing? What you don't know will hurt you. That's where the cattle, cotton, corn, and taters grow. Take two and butter 'em while they're hot. Race dilemma, equality versus excellence. From Monticello to Bilbo, and not Baggins. Yeah. I originally thought it was a book on Southern dialect, but I think it's just more of kind of a hodgepodge of the South. Dandelion Cottage by Carol Watson Rankin, which is a Michigan book. When Betty and Jeanie, Mabel and Marjorie dug the dandelions from the lawn of the little square cottage near the church, they earned the right to use the cottage as their own for a whole summer. And an eventful one it was in the northern Michigan village on Lake Superior. The girls furnished it with odds and ends from family discards. They rented a room to Miss Blossom, which was a pleasant experience. They had new neighbors, which was not, and they planned a dinner party with surprising results. The book has some value. And since I'll never read it, and despite the fact that I have a large Michigan collection, I may sell this and just make $20-$30 off it. Only paid, how much did I pay for it? $1? Yeah. If that. Is that green or yellow? If it was yellow, I paid 50 cents. If not, I paid $1. The Enneagram of Love, in Love, a roadmap for building and strengthening romantic relationships. 9, the Peacemaker. 6, the Loyalist. 2, the Helper. The Enneagram is a well-known tool for self-discovery, but it can also help enhance romantic relationships. With the Enneagram in Love as your guide, you will learn how to use insights from this motivation-based personality system to improve loving partnerships and create a more fulfilling connection with your significant other. This comprehensive exploration of the Enneagram offers an in-depth examination of the ways each of the 9 types behave in relationships, how they handle intimacy, express themselves, and deal with conflict. Stan and Ollie, The Roots of Comedy, The Double Life of Laurel and Hardy. And my only interest in these two is that I research a witch named Gundella and her son, now deceased, she is, was a Oliver Hardy impersonator, so that's the only reason why this book has any interest to me. I mean, I watched their shorts before and I was not impressed. I mean, they were dumb, to say the least. Boring. The Kingdom of the Colts by Walter Martin. Now completely revised and updated. Obviously, it's on the Colts. And this is more not a indictment of the Colts, but an indictment of the Colts from a religious system where they're trying to tell people that we're not reading anything right now. I can read later, but I'm just showing the new books I bought today and I think yesterday. Yeah, these are the new arrivals in my collection. And this one is The Kingdom of the Colts, but from a Christian perspective because they're trying to steer you to Christianity and away from the fringe cults. I have about 10 books on cults. I'll never read any of them, but a doomsday cult called the Order of the Solar Temple decided that their end had also come. A series of gruesome events signaled their demise, beginning with a fire in a remote chalet in Morin Heights, Quebec. Inside were found the bodies of a man and a woman wearing red and gold medallions bearing the letters TS for Temple Solaire or Solar Temple. In an adjacent villa, police uncovered three more corpses, a couple in their 30s and their 3-month-old son. The baby had been suffocated. Yeah, does sound fun. I wonder if there's anything written on this. What was that, 94? Less than 12 hours later, a similar fire broke out halfway across the globe in Freiburg, Switzerland, where post midnight alarms sent fire engines racing toward a farmhouse located in the tiny neighboring village of Chiri. There, Albert Giacobino, the property's owner, was found dead in his bed, a plastic bag tied around his head, concealing a bullet wound. He, too, was a member of the TS Order. Further exploration of the property by police and firefighters yielded an underground garage leading to a door. It opened into a meeting room containing, among other things, a pool of blood. Inspection of the room's wooden paneling revealed a secret door accessing a small inner sanctuary decorated entirely in red. Inside lay 18 bodies, men, women, and a boy about 10 years old. Arrayed in a crude circle, feet toward the center. Many wore red and black or white and gold ceremonial robes, some with their hands tied behind their backs. Most had been shot in the head or neck. 10 had plastic bags over their heads. Another corpse was found in an adjacent room, and 3 more bodies were discovered in an adjoining chapel. The cult's body count would rise again just a few hours later. At approximately 3 a.m., an explosive device ignited 3 ski chalets situated 100 miles to the south in the city of Gronger. I don't know how to say it. When firefighters began sifting through its rubble, they found 25 people, including at least 4 children, 10 charred beyond recognition. Cassette tapes and documents uncovered near the bodies linked the deaths to a belief that the end of the world was imminent. The cult's charismatic leader, 46-year-old Luc Jouret, had promised his followers that the world's demise lay just ahead and that he, as the new Christ, would be the one to lead them to glory. The present world chaos is not just by chance. He told them, "We have arrived at the hour of apocalypse." Like Koresh's followers, Jouret's devotees were not spaced out losers. Wait, I mean, Koresh didn't kill his people. I mean, you could say he was molesting people or whatever, but they never proved any of that. They just burned down the compound. You can't say David Koresh was, I mean, as crazy as these fuckers who killed themselves and blew up chalets and charred babies. I mean, the ATF charred the babies in the Waco. Like Koresh's followers, Jouret's devotees were not spaced out losers with a far-off look in their eyes. Oh, he's trying to compliment Koresh. They were well-respected citizens of the European and Canadian communities. In fact, the Canadian victims included the mayor of Richelieu, Quebec, and an official in the Quebec Finance Ministry. One victim was found carrying a letter for her family. It said that she had come to Switzerland to die. 3 other letters were sent by cult members to Jean-Francois Mayer, a Swiss authority. One read, "We are leaving this earth to rediscover lucidly and freely a dimension of truth and absoluteness." Switzerland, from all accounts, is a rather nice place. It's terrible that you would go there and just die. I mean, in a cult. New book arrivals. Ayum Shrinko, Yoshrinko. 57 days after the subway attack, Ashura. That sounds like a great one, though. The Temple Solar Temple. I wonder if there's a book on these people. Some of these names are like Teragu. The heck is Teragu? Sounds like some fucking J.R. Tolkien shit. Taragu. Long Wake in Waco, blaspheming cult leader, holds authorities at bay. When they held him at bay, they came there. He offered to surrender to the authorities, and then the ATF just went in there and started the war. I mean, we watched it live on television. It was just some random mumble jumbo I made up. Are you in the habit of making up words, bruv? The end that never came. One of the earliest doomsday date setters was a self-appointed prophet named Montanus. Is it like Montana, but the embodied? Who lived in the mid-2nd century. Wait, this was from... What? He assured the loyal followers that the new Jerusalem, Revelation 21:12, and God's kingdom would soon... Maybe I will read this book. It's actually pretty interesting. But the new Jerusalem never came. Instead, Montanism was labeled heretical. I wonder if that's what Montana's named after. And by AD 398, adherents to the movement had been deprived of their right to assemble. Their clergy had been outlawed and their books burned. In the 12th century, an Italian monk named Joachim announced that the Antichrist was alive and that the last age of history would begin around 1260. Joachim Phoenix, like Montana, the state, was branded a heretic, and his writings condemned. Unfortunately, his prophetic system, consisting of 3 stages of historical progression, survived various forms to influence, if only indirectly, the thinking of several infamous personalities of later history, including Adolf Hitler and Karl Marx. After Joachim, Thomas Munzer became a prominent figure in the German peasant revolt 1524-26 by promising that an extermination of the rich and powerful classes would initiate the return of Christ. Before the decisive battle, Munzer assured followers that victory would be theirs. He was wrong. 4,000 peasants were slaughtered, and Munzer, although he escaped from the battlefield, was eventually captured, tortured, and beheaded. A decade later, another prophet, Machor Hoffman, announced that the second coming would take place in 1533. The movement began peacefully enough, but when a disciple named Jan Mathis succeeded Hoffman, things began to change. Mathis preached the use of force to cleanse the ungodly from the earth in preparation for Jesus' impending return. Yeah, this book's great. And it's like 700, 800 pages long? It's like almost 700 pages long. The full destruction of the world, said Mathis, would occur by Easter of 1534. But Easter came and went, as did Mathis and his followers, who met a bloody end when the city they had captured was in turn besieged by an army of angry Protestants and Catholics, many of whom had been kicked out of the town for refusing to become baptized devotees of Mathis. The number of end-time prognosticators from centuries past is so high that it is impossible to mention them all in a chapter of this size. However, one can get an idea of just how many prophets have risen to popularity from a partial listing of the various years that were supposed to bring the end: 500, 999, 1100, 1200, 1245, 1260, 1420, 1528, 1656, 1734, 1844, 1874. Most disturbing is the fact that this list of prophets and predictions continues to grow. Hell yeah. It should grow more. I mean, did they really know anything less than anyone else? I mean, other than the fact that the Earth's not going to end. And it's not going to end, bro. What else do we got in there before I move on to the next book? Oh, this is mostly notes in the back. The historical background of Seventh-day Adventist Anglo-Israelism. This guy should have just wrote the whole book on ancient doomsday. Out of the labyrinth into the light. To weed our way completely out of the maze-like labyrinth of theosophy and its anti-Christian doctrines into the light of biblical reality would probably take many volumes of exacting systemic analysis of this cult, but suffice it to note that theosophy offers to the sinner no hope of full redemption from sin, only seemingly endless reincarnations. It guarantees no relationship with a loving, personal Heavenly Father and ignores completely the true nature, person, and work of the Lord Jesus Christo. Probably should. It's probably not much. I looked it up on eBay. I think it's only like a $5 book. What's it say? K&J Rathje. It's probably been updated since this. This looks like the 1990s. 1997. It's probably been updated since then. Yeah. Kingdom of the Cults. Of the Cults. Book by Walter Ralston Martin. As of 2019, the book is in its 6th updated edition. Yeah, so if you do buy it, you're smart to get the newer edition. Which is going for new and used. It's about $7 on Amazon. You can learn about cults. Or you can pay me $14 million and I'll read it online. All right, last book. America's Great Depression by Murray N. Rothbard. I only got this because Rothbard is from, I think he's dead now. Pretty sure he's dead. Are you dead, Murray? Don't want to call him dead if he's not dead. Yeah, he's dead alright. He's been dead since 95, so. I only got it because Rothbard was from the von Mises Institute, which means he understood Austrian economics, and thus he probably has a reasonable reason for the depression. Secondhand prose used bookshop, Canton Library. I haven't been there in a long time. Nice little plastic thing. Introduction to the 3rd edition. America is now in the midst of a full-scale inflationary depression. The inflationary recession of 1969 to 71 has been quickly succeeded by a far more inflationary depression which began around November 1973. Yeah, he's way dead. He's 30 some years dead. Since that time, physical production has declined steadily and substantially, and the unemployment rate has risen to around 10%, and even higher in key industrial areas. The desperate attempt by the political economic establishment to place an optimistic gloss on the most severe depression since the 1930s centers on two arguments: A, the inadequacy of the unemployment statistics, and B, the fact that things were much worse in the post 1929 depression. The first argument is true, but irrelevant, no matter how faulty the statistics. The rapid and severe rise in the unemployment rate from under 6% to 10% in the space of just 1 year from 1974 to 75 tells its own grisly tale. It is true that the economy was in worse shape in the 1930s, but that was the gravest depression in American history. We are now in a depression that is certainly not mild by any pre 1929 standards. So this was written in 75. This has got to be a later edition. In the years that have elapsed since the publication of the first edition, the business cycle has reemerged in the consciousness of economists. During the 1960s, we were again promised, as in the new era of the 1920s, the abolition of the business cycle by Keynesian and other sophisticated policies of government, the substantial and marked recession, which began around November 1969, and from which, at this writing, we have not yet recovered, has been a salutary, if harsh, reminder that the cycle is still very much alive. Yeah, it is. Eventually, our whole economy will collapse. What year was this rewritten? It's got to be written pre 97 since he's dead, unless a psychic contacted him. This is a reissue in 2000. I'm guessing that the fourth edition. What's this? Paul Johnson. He wrote that one. Fourth edition. Emma. So that was 82. So that's basically when he updated it last. So this might not be so amazing, but it will give you a good view of what did happen. Shall we stop at 33, bruv? Just a little. What do you got, bruv? I'll show you the books again since you came late. See if you got anything to say about them. What do you know about the Enneagram? Dandelion Cottage, Southern Accent. The Letters of Stendhal. Somewhere off the coast of Maine, which is a good cover. The Economy. You want to hear more about the economy? Anthony Trollope, Israel and the Ancient World. You want to hear a definition of Palestine? Which is in that book. And an autobiography. The economy. The economy, the economy, the economy. ancient history. I'm going to read what Palestine is. I think it's page 129. Canaan is not a very large country. The Babylonians did not include it in Syria, of which it was part. The Greeks extended to the whole country the name which they gave to the coast and called it the land of the Philistines, Palestine, the name which we retain. From Dan to Beersheba, from the sluices of Hamath to the river of Egypt, Wadi of Shurba, according to the expression commonly used in the Bible. It extends for less than 200 miles. In the north, it is bounded by the anti-Lebanon range, from which extends like a wedge the great Hermon Massif, reaching a height of 6,200 feet and snow-covered in winter. Towards the south, the plains of Palestine extend without a break into the great solitudes of T-I-H, T, if we do not include Transjordania. Canaan covers some 9,000 square miles, about half the area of Brittany. From the sea to the desert, the distance, as the crow flies, is only about 60 miles. And even less in the north. It is a fringe, a border, squeezed between the sand and the sea, the slender horn of the fertile crescent. In this small space, however, nature has manifested herself under the most varying aspects. A plain, hills that try to be mountains, a gorge that penetrates into the very bowels of the earth, and finally a high glacier with an abrupt drop in four parallel bands running from north to south, with variations of soil and climate creating subtle local differences. The plain in early Bible times was as yet scarcely the promised land, being occupied for the most part by the Philistines. Nevertheless, it is the most favored district, the plain of Sharon, that Isaiah names as the type of riches. It is the center at the present time round about Tel Aviv of the Zionist farms of lemons and grapefruit. Behind a straight sandy coastline bordered with dunes, where only the Bay of Haifa, sheltered by Mount Carmel, provides a suitable port, extends alluvial soil, which requires only a little water in order to yield garden produce in the shade of palms. The sandstone hills that rise from the plain are covered with vines. Behind, at the foot of the mountains, behind a line of high country that calls to mind the cliffs of the Ile-de-France or the Côte d'Or, the Cephala, that Samson was later to contest with the Philistines, extends as far as eye can see, gray-green with olive trees. My favorite book? Yeah. Probably The Man Who Laughs by Victor Hugo. But I have favorite books that are by a poet named Jeffers. Those don't count, though, because they're not really books. They're poetry books, so they're not books. What are you, from Canada or England? Got that Ewan favorite. Greece mythology. Greek mythology is my favorite type of book. Well, I mean, most of those books are pretty common. You can get them at any used bookstore for rather cheap, so shouldn't be hard to find them at all. I have a bunch of mythology books, a whole bookshelf, and most of them are no one's looking for them. So about witchcraft books. What the hell did I do? 8,000. That's how many I guess I have. Right. What do you got? 2 million? Oh, my knee. $70? It's more than 50. Get 10 jobs. Do you have thrift stores? I got all these books for like $7 or $8 total. man. Oh, amen. Why? Go to them. Take a bus. Not going to bed just yet. Why? You concerned about my well-being or? Yeah. Just yawning. I sound like this. I need $150,000 book. Because I do. I need this book immediately. The Discovery of Witchcraft, 1564 book by Reginald Scott, which costs $150,000. That's what I need. Severely. To cut off one's head and to lay it in a platter. What the fuck? What order is to be observed? For the practicing hereof with great admiration. Genres. Not fantasy, that's for damn sure. I guess nonfiction is my genre. This book is my genre. Even the library number on it's amazing. I need a GoFundMe to make $150,000 and get this book. How the hell did they make those N boards in 1584? How long would it take to dye something like that in the 16th century? I mean, how did they make these? Did they hand draw these? Because obviously, if you have more than one book, I'm sure the printing press was around by then, but how the hell do you make an engraving with that? Oh man. That book, I'm sure it's been republished probably 100 times. There's new editions of it, but I'd want the 1564 edition for 150,000. Guess I could look on Bookfinder and find a old copy, not so old, but I want the original first edition. Discovery of Witchcraft. No, spelled it wrong. Put Discovery. 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 Original Scott, limited numbered edition. Facsimile of the 1886 edition, which included a reprint of the original 1584 edition. $73, circa 2015. Excuse me. The annotated, see, that might be interesting. The annotated Discovery of Witchcraft book, $187. Maybe if it was written in 1900, I would have got it. I'm paying $200 for a book from 2000. No. Cult Studies. In 2 volumes, that one I might want. Large print. No, because you wouldn't mess with it. What the hell is this? 2023. What are you talking about? I'm buying the book from 2 years ago for $200. What the fuck is this? Why do I have to deal with this dullardry? 1886 leather bound, a reprint of the original. Defense of Witchcraft Belief. I don't care anymore. I have to see the book. Discovery of Witchcraft. Reginald. Show me some copies. Shopping. Penguin Magic. Oh, these are crappy new reproductions. Wasn't this book reproduced in the 1800s or something? Come on now. Are those all hard to find too? What is this? What is this? Yeah. All these copies are new. What's this? That's Dictionary of Witchcraft. Box of Magic. Well, I guess I can't get an old copy. Because there are none. Very unfortunate. Very unfortunate, bruv. Yeah, I told you I have a whole bookshelf of mythology. One whole bookshelf. It's about 5 feet tall, 2 feet wide. All mythology and folklore. Have you banished Neil Gaiman from your reading list because he's a raging, whatever you call that, abuser? Can't afford to even go to a store. How are you going to afford to come to America and steal all my books? me Google. How long does it take to count to 8,000? Hand counting can be a very time consuming. In one example, it took 200 workers nearly 24 hours to hand count around 800 ballots, 8,000 ballots. What the hell is that got to do with anything? I want to know how long it takes to count to 8,000. Counting to 8,000 at a rate of one number per second would take approximately 2 hours and 13 minutes. So I could probably count all of my books in 2 hours and 13 minutes. What do you mean explain? I don't really want to go upstairs because it's hot up there. It's hot upstairs, bruv. I'd show you the damn bookshelves, but it's piping hot upstairs. Do it. Good luck. How are you gonna fit them all in one car? You're gonna need like a van. You're gonna steal a truck. Go to my profile and look at the Libib page, and then you can see how many books I have. Well, that's just the ones with ISBN numbers. Just type in mythology and you'll see how many I have. Of course, computer's going slow, so I can't even see my own damn Libib page. Libib. Gonna load today. There you go, buddy. Way to load. Thanks. It's pathetic. There it is, finally, my profile. Go to the profile, and you will see Libib. Maybe. If it works. The link should work. Is this thing not searchable? You just have to click it. I don't know, maybe you can't search it. Harry Potter's garbage. Anyway, here's some of these, and then I'm going to the shower. Yes, I have multiple copies of some books. Hardcover, paperback. Why it doesn't allow you to search. There's the first. Why it doesn't allow searching. Alright, I'm going anyway. See ya, bros.